The premiere episode of Better Call Saul's 5th season left me with a very foreboding feeling. Characters are warned of future danger throughout the episode. And the theme shows us that Jimmy, Kim, Mike, and Gus are all too distracted to see any danger coming. I'm G, and this is the G-Spot. Lalo is the exception. He's the only one who manages to control his focus. And because he does, he can see danger coming. Skells never have control of their focus because their addiction owns it. A Skell's focus is always locked in a chronic case of tunnel vision. The light at the end of their tunnel is, of course, their fix. This tunnel vision keeps their focus on their fix at all times. But as you can see, it also blocks out everything else in the world, so they can stay focused on their fix. Tunnel vision can be a powerful thing that helps us accomplish something, but it has a big downfall, that it doesn't let you see outside the tunnel. This is how our other characters, Jimmy, Kim, Gus, and Mike, are distracted throughout the episode. They all have their own tunnels that they're in, and they can't see outside them. They do show us several different types and degrees of tunnel vision throughout the episode. Like when Bill's chips are in sight, but just out of reach. And he decides that he's going to do whatever it takes to get those chips. We also see that Werner's men have finally reached the end of their tunnel. They have reached the light at the end of their tunnel. We see Gus and Jimmy use tunnel vision to manipulate others, much in the same way that a magician does. Saul certainly earns his title of Magic Man in this episode. He uses his phone as razzle-dazzle to distract his audience so they don't really see what's going on, as he sneaks in a legal counsel for every single one of them. We see Gus set up a grand illusion for an audience of one, when he sets up a fake light at the end of the tunnel for Lalo. Lalo wants to know what Gus's plans are. Gus wants to keep them secret, so Gus pretends to tell and show Lalo everything. Unfortunately, Gus's illusion does not fool Lalo, and he sees through it. When you have a tunnel that has a light at its end, and not all tunnels do, we'll get to the tunnels that don't have lights at the end, you can be sure that there's two things inside that tunnel, and that is compromise and sacrifice. These two women demonstrate that you have to pay the compromise and sacrifices in a tunnel to get to the light at its end. They do not want to compromise their image or sacrifice their time by waiting in line. So they try to cut the line and head straight to the front where the light is. But there Huel reminds them that if they want to get to the light, they need to go through the tunnel. Bill's tunnel vision with his chips is a very short and wide tunnel. So Bill barely has to compromise his professional ethics and sacrifice his body in order to get the chips at the end of his tunnel. Werner's men were in a fairly large tunnel, a time-consuming project. They sacrificed a lot while they were in their tunnel. They sacrificed their freedom. In order to get out of their tunnel, they had to sacrifice justice for Werner. And in doing that, they all had to compromise their morals. Jimmy has tunnel vision for building Saul Goodman a successful law practice. In this tunnel, we're going to see that Jimmy compromises his professional ethics and image, his clients, and what Jimmy sacrifices in his tunnel is Kim. Jimmy's tunnel is fairly narrow because it has a narrow focus, which is getting more clients. His tunnel is also very long because Jimmy has more in his statement. He doesn't have a number of clients he's trying to get to. Jimmy just wants to get more. So there's no telling how long Jimmy's tunnel will end up being. Kim tries to warn Jimmy that his 50% off promotion will make him look ethically questionable in front of the bar. But remember, Jimmy cannot see or hear outside of his tunnel. So the only thing he hears Kim say is that your 50% off promotion may make you look questionable in front of your clients. And then we see when Jimmy decides that offering a 50% off promotion could make him look desperate to clients, he thinks he's agreeing with what Kim said. even though that's not what Kim said. It's just what Jimmy heard being in his tunnel. But even after Jimmy gives away every last one of his phones with his number and speed dial and a personalized counsel to every person that got a phone. I mean, the event was a huge success. He did exactly what he planned on doing. Even after that, Jimmy walks out of the tent and he sees more possible clients. So he ends up offering the 50% off promotion anyways, even though Kim warned him that it would be a bad idea, and he agreed that it would make him look desperate. But because his focus is not on his image, because his focus is on getting more clients, Jimmy doesn't even really see that he made himself look desperate in order to try to get more clients. As Jimmy moves closer to Saul, he will be moving further away from Kim. But unfortunately, because Jimmy's tunnel is so narrow, being focused only on getting more clients, he is not going to notice, he's not going to see that he's moving further away from Kim until it's too late. Kim seems to really have a difficult time facing Saul. The first time Kim sees Saul is in season 3, episode 6, Off Brand. She sees Saul in one of Jimmy's commercials. And it seems that Saul actually frightens Kim in this moment. In this episode, we see Kim very hesitantly approach and then just peek around the corner at Jimmy filling out his name change form. Or rather, we see her peek into Saul Goodman's delivery room. Then we notice that Kim can't even manage to go inside. She has to wait for Jimmy to come out. Later, we see that Kim keeps her back to Jimmy the entire time he talks about Saul's phone promotion. Then we see when Kim tries to picture Saul in her mind that she actually cringes. She then tells Jimmy that I can't see it. And Jimmy simply replies, don't worry, you will. This is a great example of Jimmy not seeing that he is going to need to sacrifice Kim to become Saul. Jimmy thinks she just can't see it, but she doesn't want to see it. Finally, at the end of the episode, when they're having their conversation in the courthouse, Kim knows that her partner, who she has always supported, wants to be called Saul in this moment. But Kim calls him Jimmy. Finally, Kim has enough of Saul and needs to tell him to back off. And again, at this point, we see Jimmy's very surprised by her reaction. Jimmy cannot see the problem that Kim is having with Saul. Gus has tunnel vision for more control. His tunnel is long like Jimmy's because he's on a quest for more, but Gus's tunnel is wider than Jimmy's. His restaurants, his shipping business, his position in the cartel, his secret lab. Gus's tunnel is not as narrow as Jimmy's because Gus is focused on several different things. In his tunnel, Gus compromises himself and everyone around him. Gus sacrifices relationships. He has none because any type of relationship is a balance, a compromise of control and power. So Gus sacrifices relationships. Gus tells Lalo and Don Juan that his real shame is in lying to them. And then he proceeds to lie more. Gus has no shame. Gus will compromise himself in any way necessary to get to the end of his tunnel. We mentioned earlier that not all tunnels have a light at the end. These tunnels are tunnels that look into the past. They are dark tunnels because there's no exit. And because there's no exit, there is no light at the end of these tunnels. So when a tunnel does not have a light at its end, we are going to call it a dark tunnel. It does not have an exit, and it is filled with despair. It happens to be that both Mike and Kim are in dark tunnels of their own. And this is what is distracting them from seeing the danger that's ahead. Mike likes to work because to Mike, working is like therapy because work helps Mike keep his focus out of his past and off of his son, Maddie. And this is why we see Mike in the light when we first see him in the episode, because he's working, and so he's happy. Things change for Mike when Casper tells him that Werner was worth 50 of him. If we go back to season 1, episode 6, titled 5-0, we see that Mike opens up to Stacy about his son Maddie. He tells Stacy, "I made him like me, I made him lesser." When Casper tells Mike that Werner was greater, it reminds Mike that he's lesser. It reminds Mike that he made his son lesser, and it reminds Mike that he blames himself for his son's murder. This comment of Casper's knocks Mike into his dark tunnel, where his focus is locked in on his past and his feelings about his son Maddie. And then things get much worse for Mike when he meets with Gus, because Gus simply reminds Mike why he became lesser to begin with. Gus offers to pay Mike, even though construction's going to be halted and Mike really won't be doing anything. Gus offers to pay Mike to do nothing. The way that Mike became lesser is by taking dirty money as a cop. Mike became lesser by taking money for doing nothing. So when Gus offers him more money for doing nothing, it's the last thing he wants, because it reminds him of what made him lesser to begin with. Mike is not going to have that. And so Mike tells Gus to keep his retainer and walks away. Now, it's important to point out that Mike did not walk away from Gus. He walked away from the offer of being paid to do nothing. So Mike is in a dark tunnel, a tunnel that is focused on his son Maddie and how Mike feels responsible for the things that happened to Maddie. Mike is in a deep tunnel of despair. Now, we stress that Mike walks away from Gus's offer and not Gus, because when we look at Kim and her dark tunnel, we see that Kim walks away from Jimmy and not Jimmy's idea. After Jimmy tries to get Kim to fix things with him, he wants to work together with her. That's like a big deal, specifically for Jimmy and for them as a couple. Kim walks away. She tells Jimmy to back off, uses his idea anyways. Kim appears at the end of the episode to end up at the entrance of her own dark tunnel. But dark tunnels have to do with looking into the past. And the thing about Kim is we don't really know much about her past. This is what we know about Kim before she started working at HHM. She's from a small town that you've never heard of on the border of Nebraska and Kansas. And the reason why she left that small town is because one day she looked at her life and realized if it kept going in the direction it was, she would end up married to the guy who owned the gas station. So that's what we know about Kim's past. And then in this episode, we see that Kim really has trouble facing Saul. The only speculation I can even put together about Kim, because they did not let us know what is going on with her, there is something about Saul that reminds Kim about her past. There's something in Kim's past that Kim is trying to get away from. I don't know if it's a person or an action that she committed, but for some reason, Saul is bringing her back to that moment. As we look for someone in the episode who does control their own focus, the only one we find is Lalo. When we first see Lalo, you'll notice that he's spinning 3 thoughts around in his mind. Now, he focuses on one, he tries to make sense out of it, he can't get anything out of it, he goes to the next. Lalo keeps changing his focus in the opening. Soon he comes to the realization that the 3 pieces of information he has, Werner, Michael pouring a south wall, aren't bringing him anywhere. It's not enough information for him to draw a conclusion as to what Gus is up to. So as soon as Lalo realizes that he can't get anything more out of those pieces of information, he asks Domingo and Nacho what else is going on, what else is different or new. And we see here how Lalo is not involved in tunnel vision. Lalo throws out a huge net with Nacho and Domingo, looking for anything that looks new or different. The other thing that Lalo does here is he extends his vision from just him to Nacho and Domingo. He now has 3 different point of views looking everywhere for anything that could possibly help him piece together the 3 pieces of information that he has. Lalo does not suffer from tunnel vision. There is some danger coming for some of these characters this season, big time, and they are not going to see it. That's what I took from this episode with the theme of tunnel vision. Thanks so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. I am really far behind in Better Call Saul, and I am so sorry about that. I would tell you that I'll be catching up, but that would be a lie. I don't think I can catch up. I'm going to catch up as much as I'm able to, and I'm hoping to end up only a week behind by the time we get to the finale. But I don't know what's going to happen. Now, I love comments. I always do. But I don't know what I'm going to do with comments because I'm so far behind in episodes and not watching ahead. I will watch episode 2 as soon as I get this edited and posted. I don't know what I'm going to do. So if you don't see me in comments, I'm just kind of giving you a heads up. That's why. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't be afraid to like and share it. And if you do want to make sure that you see all of the videos I put up on Better Call Saul's 5th season, go ahead, subscribe, and ding the bell, and you will be alerted every time I upload a video. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.